Okay, so the first thing you need to learn or know about studying in Sweden is that you don't need to speak Swedish. We speak, I would say, English very well in Sweden. In fact, we love speaking it. And you will be perfectly fine in the classroom speaking only English, and outside of the classroom as well. In fact, you could live basically your whole life in Sweden speaking only English. However, for your own sake, for fun, it's always good to know a few phrases of Swedish, and if you plan to stay longer in Sweden and work, it might be useful to learn the language. We offer a lot of programs in Sweden at Swedish universities, over 1,000 of them taught entirely in English, so you can study basically whatever you want. Our bachelor's programs are 3-year, and then we have master's programs that are both 1 and 2 year long. Some of the most popular programs in Sweden relate to sustainability, biotech and life sciences, engineering, IT, international relations, human rights and design, among many others. So we have 39 outstanding universities in Sweden. Some of them are in the bigger cities, well, big by Swedish standards, and some of them are in the smaller university towns. Most of them are located in the south of Sweden, because most cities and people are in the south of Sweden, but some of them are even located in the far north, up above the Arctic Circle. So if you're looking for something very different experience than Indonesia, maybe that's where you should head. It's also worth to note that you could study at multiple universities at once, depending on a bit of the program, but you should look into that possibility if and when you go to Sweden. So the application process goes like this. You start now basically by applying online, and you can apply for 4 master's programs or 8 bachelor's programs. In mid-January is the deadline to apply. Then sometime in April, you will get your admission result, whether you got accepted to one or maybe more of the programs you applied for. Then you need to confirm that you will go, of course, and then your program will start sometime in mid-August next year. To prove that your proficiency in English is good enough to study at a Swedish university, there are a number of tests that you can take that you're probably familiar with already. There's the IELTS, there's the TOEFL, there's the MeLab, and there's the Pearson PT. In a slide that will appear here shortly after me, you can see the exact requirements for entering a Swedish university. So the cost for studying in Sweden varies a bit depending on what you study, but an average master's or bachelor's program costs around 130,000 Swedish kronor, which is roughly 12,000 euros or 200 million rupias. So for funding your studies and your stay in Sweden, you might apply for scholarships. There are 2 options basically in Sweden. You might get one through the Swedish Institute, and there might be options at the individual university where you will be studying. So when you apply, please check with that university if there's a scholarship option. You might also be eligible for the Indonesian government's LPDP scholarship, so please check that option as well. Studying in Sweden might be a little different, or maybe even very different from studying in Indonesia. And so here are 3 things that you should be prepared for before you start studying in Sweden. Number 1, You will be on a first name basis with everyone, and they will be on a first name basis with you. So you won't be calling your professor, or your teacher Mr. or Mrs. First name basis all the time with everyone. Number 2, you won't be handed just your knowledge and your education on a plate. You will need to discuss, question, criticize everything. That's how we create knowledge at Swedish universities, and you need to be ready for that. Number 3, it is about learning, it is about trying, it is not about finding or punishing failure. Failure is part of the learning process. So please bear that in mind, try to fail and learn more. Equality is really important in Sweden. Regardless of our gender, we should all be equal, not least in the university setting. This is a cornerstone of Swedish society, and this is one of the reasons why we are considered one of the most gender equal countries in the world. That being said, we are of course not perfect. We have a long way to go still. Please, if you come to Sweden and study, join that movement and try to make us and our country an even better one. We are in love with nature in Sweden. We very much like the nature we have in our country, and we're fiercely protective of it. So this is why sustainability is really ingrained in both society and at the curriculum in the universities, and in life around it, where we try to go by bike or electric cars and buses. We do second-hand shopping, so on and so forth. All these little things you can do to contribute to a more sustainable and nature-protecting environment in life. So if you too are interested in those issues, if you care about sustainability and about nature, and you love being in nature, then Sweden is probably one of the best places you can go to study. Two concepts that are really at the heart of Swedish society is creativity and innovation. And this is because this is what has built the relative success of Sweden as a country, and not least all of these big companies that we have actually managed to produce. So we know that innovation and creativity really is key for a society to flourish, and therefore it's also very much a part of our university system and will be of your studies if you go to Sweden and a Swedish university to study. A proof of how this works is that outside of Silicon Valley, Sweden is the place in the world that has produced the most unicorn companies per capita. And even though we don't work ourselves to death. Work-life balance is a really important thing in Sweden as well. So only 1% of our population work more than 50 hours per week, meaning we have a lot of time still to do the other things we want to do in life other than work, which also makes us one of the happiest people in the world. So I hope I've answered most of your questions now about studying in Sweden, but if there are more things you need to know or more information you want to get, please talk to our friends in the booth at this fair, or you visit Study in Sweden either on their homepage or via their social media to find out more about studying in Sweden. So here are some of the places where you can find more information about studying in Sweden. You can go to the homepage of studyinSweden.se. You can go to their YouTube channel, youtube.com/studyinSwedenofficial. You can follow them on Facebook or Instagram @studyInSweden. You can also follow the embassy which on Facebook is at Embassy of Sweden in Jakarta, or Instagram at Sweden Jakarta. Even more importantly, perhaps, please follow the Organization for Indonesian Students in Sweden, which is PPI Swedia, at PPI Swedia on Instagram. And you can also follow the alumni organization here in Indonesia, which is called Alumni Swedia, which you find on Instagram on at Alumni Swedia.